Yes, literally. Just have
Good evening, everyone. If you all can find a place to situate yourselves or clump like that, that's good. Well, welcome to Innisfree. This is one of the last few MFA showcases that we have this year, so you all made a great life decision to be here. We're going to hear some great poetry from Rushi. My name is Fung. I'm an MFA student, and I'm just here to kick things off. First, we have Rushi's former students, Erin, McMahon, and Caroline Smith, who will introduce him. All right, so you're on.
Hi guys, I'm Erin. Caroline. We each have 2 poems to read for you, and then we're going to introduce him after that. Alright, so this first one I actually wrote in Rushi's class last year, and it recently got published in the CU Honors Journal, which is pretty special to me. So. Toxins and tar. Comfortable underneath a blanket of stars, crisp air creates a tightness in the grave of my lungs. A blackness buries, deep inside my ignorance, what goes in must come out, except for what gets caught killing me. Stains of my mistakes imprinted on my lifetime, yet I continue to exhale. As the cold seems to freeze the smoke released from my lips, I become eternally numb. Watching the smoke disappear with the wind, if only I could keep it, it might kill me faster. Alright, and this one is called Me or Mary. The thought that sidewalks always end cracks my knuckles for me. A forced notion, yet a choice, to walk down the yellow brick road that aligns itself next to moving traffic. I found myself lost in a street of cliches I told myself I was too good for. Cliché, she told me, as we walked down the scum of Chicago. One wrong step and we are on that road. It had to be one of us, and I wouldn't let it be me.
Hi again, I'm Caroline. Yeah,
Shorter.
this first piece is called Coffee. I wrote it with the wonderful Rushi's help. Coffee. I needed coffee. Sleepily I needed a cure for the crumbs in my eyelids. I needed a jolt from a dark place, burnt at the roots, leading with power of age and wisdom. I needed the dark of it. Roasted words over wooden tables, it was said they sat around. I was in want of dark. And the truth of the strange they had to have stood through. I craved to feel her on my tongue, if my mouth could even slip, open her around the mug, light truth gliding over the lips of carrier. Burnt skin, calling the myths to the surface. A cure coated in the shadows of a cureless world, the darkness, the awakening of the she. This next one's kind of a tongue twister, but I'm gonna give it a go. It's called Here We Are. By California coastals in pigtail-colored dresses, I loved the boy in orange peel slices. Juiced skies of heart-in-the-earth kind of goodness. Tinged with flame of fairy, there are flowers where the sweetened stick-stuck of desert once was. Streams of trickle scream to me as only oceans can. There are the flowers of desert where breathing is liquid. Inside, outside, you are lips under sky beams. Our light of pollution in hugs to go as arms drive west, as I can only give half of myself. We return together to gather worlds, as guides and irises. We shall learn to fly underwater and in honey. Here we are now, star dancing under hues born only of morning. I'll press lips to yours, show the waning moon how to sway, as if seas were still framed. Nice. on to Rushi. Rushi teaches creative writing at CU Boulder, where he has served as managing editor of Timber Journal and Sabino Press.
His poetry is forthcoming or published in Tin House, The Offing, The Journal, and elsewhere. And I have a little bit of something to say really quick about him as well. Rushi's class was the perfect balance between challenging and fun for me. I not only learned so much about how to look and analyze poetry that was not my own, but also how to look at my own writing and never stop pushing myself to make it better. One of the poems I was most proud of writing in Rushi's class was recently published in the CU Honors Journal, and even though this may be a small accomplishment for some, this was extremely validating for me. Rushi's honesty within his writing and his compassion for others is contagious. I am so excited and honored to be here to introduce him.
I have a few words as well. I would not be reading poetry, reading here at all were it not for Rushi. I wouldn't be writing still in the first place. He's the most encouraging, kind, compassionate person you will ever meet. He creates a safe space where you can be raw and authentic and really find what you're trying to say and kind of cut around all the mess to get there. And he really draws out truth in the work of the students he works with. And I'm so grateful that I stumbled into his class last semester. So yeah, here's Rushi.
Thank you so much, Caroline and Erin. Holy crap, I'm trying to make me cry before. And thank you for reading those poems from last semester. I remember both of them. And it's so cool to hear your work right now. I wish I was still in class with you. Maybe I should just like come be a student with y'all and keep doing your work. That would be so much fun. Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed. Thank y'all for coming out. It means a lot. And I'm gonna first set a little timer thing so I know what I'm doing. It should, I think it'll be about 30-ish minutes. So hopefully, it won't be much longer than that. I can tell you. Yeah, I'm grateful for Caroline and Erin. Thank you so much for that introduction. Everyone that's here, for all of your support, and Innisfree for being here, through the last 3 years. It's really been something that's gotten me through. These poems are a little heavy. They're a little sad. Take care of yourself. If you gotta get up, walk outside, do what you gotta do. That's it. Thank you, Bird, for this pin also. He just gave it to me. I'm not one who wears pins normally, but if Bird gives you something, you should probably just, take it and run with it. Effigy. I waited all my life for my father to die, and when he finally did, I heard the whip of voices caged within his skull. Call them trees, in a neighborhood where branches sprawl into each other, each limb an asthmatic breath summiting the snake line, each heave stuttering into the next, a pattern rippling in the absence of who we scatter. I heard my own pulse shelled in nails inherited, felt the stubborn flesh of a body that snapped its own beat. They celebrate the terrorist's death in the streets, and I do not leave my house. When my father finally died, we cut him from the ceiling, fed him sweets, dipped him in oil, and burned, like an effigy, the voiceless body. Force, object. When Labor Day weekend word drones across blinding oceans, we drove up 23, farms flanking my agile back. I craved happiness pain provides, ash raked into yards. We watched people run and hit. We called this bonding, eating overpriced pizza, dry cheese sliding off tomato, we praised the pre-game F-16 flyover. Stunned to thirst, tailbone scratched by metal, I was happy. I looked up. You smiled rare as a guiltless eagle and held my anxious hand in yours. No rushing the clock, we reveled in pass after incomplete pass. On third down, I stood alone as you sat, incomplete. Reincarnation. We remember each other from we don't know where. You dangle from ambiguous suburban maple. You fall, an unripe fig. I am tamarind between anonymous teeth, chewed, bled sour. I flinch in your vein. Fruit falls because of our gaze. Gravity is an angry, unseen thing. On some animal mountain, one of us emerges hungry after years buried in snow. Entomology, mirage. I find you in the basement, pulse there, though I keep reaching for your carotid, your neck, the cold throat. I roll outside, away from your corpse, numb to the scald. As Labor Day suns the black drive, I walk backward, 2 days in time, mindless where I stumble, near a cicada, kicking, stuck, dying. I lift its shell from the puddle, try to warm it in my palm. I do all I could, but all I could fears, with feigned bravery, the spine, the crunch, the nails, between fingertip and another. The unflinching, the thin exoskeleton between rage and vulnerability I gave my entomologist friend your body to hang behind glass mounted on her wall. There below the jugular is a rope tied to my larynx. I do all I could to drag through tar and haze to your funeral, to discover enough. If this rope will slacken, or choke, or break. We find a note in the house from St. V's, a summons to a meeting to discuss suspension of the 2 letters following your name. The note, dated 2 days before today, the day I find your empty shell strung up by a thick silver computer cable. Your employees tell us about the clack of Rudraksha beads you slapped, hand in pocket. You took a patient's phone, checked for spyware. You left probes in bodies, exited exam rooms to mutter in your office, beads clacking against your brain's rattle. I lift my palm, superstitious to my chest, to the beads that hang around my neck. Dad, I say, and will to see you standing, where your feet imprints remain in the living room, palms together in front of Ganesh, Shiva, Dadaji, Mataji, Krishna, and Saraswati, standing in the posture of prayer every day, 3 times a day, never orbed by closed-eye reverie like mother listening to bhajans. I finger the beads around my carotid. Let the rough-edged tree seeds massage fingertips. They say, sorry. My mantra replies, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not. Double slit. On the tongue, in the dim hovering over cement, light scatters, gray through the transom above my dead father. Like sugarcane juice on papillae, beams flow grains of dust toward an open doorway. Flecks gather into a tumor framed, a metastatic tremble. No. Think of light's nature. Adolescence in the basement, now wave now a particle. Uncertainty sands the body, clouds the flesh hanging limbed in an absence of light. No. 2 days earlier, in sunlight in the car, my father closer to my blood than his mind, the visible spectrum fluttering in rear view as he seized. Now dislodged muscle fixed in another room I cannot see. No. Blink, phantasm, flicker, shadow, quiver, dislocated furnace in the remodeled foundation of a house leaving whatever must burn to renew a home. Like milk offered to a murti past hungry hands into the gutter, or a monk leaping from a mountain to return as rain. The words light carries collapse when observed. No. This is only tumor as prayer. Photons streaming strung from the neck to electric photons streaming from the neck strung by electric cable to the ceiling beam. In the gray light, there is no mantra but the wave function collapse, the signifier claiming the body it calls. So there's a series of poems in this manuscript. This is my thesis. I'm defending it Friday. It's called When I Reach for Your Pulse. But there's a long poem in here that's in the voice of the father. And so this is one of those. This is the first one. Another night in an empty house, quiet but for the knocking brain. I worked so hard for years for insurance against the noise of silence. Now she is gone, my wife. Not dead, but worse, in a place of her own. The kids nowhere I can find, only in picture frames hanging in the cold foyer. Another night in an empty home, chandelier ringing the brain. Making ghee in this American kitchen. The museless voice calls, redundant hypocrisy, hope. Smother knelt fire, clarify another butter pound. Clear the kitchen counter of all serrated blades. Conflate heat source and burned pages, the pages of lute, to an unlaundered father. Say only the name in this country of unapology, of this country of unapology. Ecology is our butterbell. The refrigerator is dying. Gujarati proverb for American boy. Once boarded on planes I buckle, turbulence reminds, I have never piloted a thing. Mother taught me every sound I know, still I say she would not understand my writing. She moors against rebellion, scolds in proverb about the dog who smiles shaded under a moving cart's awning, thinking he pulls what moves. Gada talle kutaru challe bado bar mare mate. Moving sounds absent the signified. What meaning detains my tail wag? Forgive that I've run from air that carries. I trip and wake beside this treadmill and there she is again. Wordless but the mantra mala in hand. More seeds shedding petals I'll admire. Claim mine. How y'all doing? This is another one in the father's voice. Occupation, secure one. You must occupy the mind against dreams. Mother ruled the Bhavnagar estate with a broomstick, never once sweeping the floor. The slap of bristles next to my head on the wooden desk each time my eyes fell to the window. Better than the spine. Be a surgeon greater than your father. Remove our family from this dust palace. The charge with which she occupied my mind. Surgeon, America, occupied by a non-British mother and her whip. There goes big sister, slapped by the hand that made her when she intervenes. The year, like EAR. Forced to admit most assumptions I hold have been proven wrong, you show me the flower whose bell I admire. The one I've always called Daisy is actually scientifically called Narcissus, pseudo-Narcissus, which is to say, today I forgot where I was going again, lost in a pose I did not intend as that time I learned samba to the skill of musicians not from Brazil, and acquired the dance slowly because the cochlea of the organ of Corti, named after Alfonso Giacomo Gaspari Corti, who discovered by dissection the inner ear somewhere in Italy, a place I assumed laid no roads in anatomy beyond the Colosseum's remaining limbs, emerges from the Latin cochlea, meaning snail shell, and the Greek konkos, or konk, a cat curled in your lap that forgot where it was going again, that purrs, which is to say, if the ear could be inverted, I'd want you to hear everything improper that has entered, as when I stare in the mirror too long, forgetting where I was going, again, and you tap me on the shoulder to ask, everything okay? I answer like a hermit returning home after too loud a bout in the world where air does not forgive, where smoke implores the palm to rise to the mouth and nose and forget the narrow tunnels below and behind temples, these shelled indiscriminate swallowers of sound, which is to ask, how do you mute a mother's prayers implanted inside the skull? Proverb in absentia. This is in Whitney Carruthers' journal, Gasher Journal. She's accepting submissions right now. So
Yeah,
submit to her journal. Proverb in absentia. A bird in the eye is worth squeezing the life out of. A body mostly nothing, cloaked in rib and feather. A tie ornamented with wings pivots around your trachea. Erin bone lined with skin, stubble grown waiting for the two in the bush. A grave mistake, you say, to keep palms empty, like the atoms that mold a hand out of negative charges grown for form they cannot hold. Desire violent to bond. The poet enjoys Meow Wolf and Santa Fe as Charlottesville happens. After Tracy K. Smith, there's some lines in here from a Tracy K. Smith poem. I think Erin, Caroline, Maya, people in our 2021 class will recognize them. On land once another's, we make statues at our campsite out of a rib cage and half a spine that lie scattered, picked clean. Those bones were once cloaked in fur or browner skin. In the art installation, I open a washing machine and slide into a different realm, imagined. I exit the gift shop and lobby out of which it was imagined. Commercial gloss stroked thick upon the lips of a world I must return to. This poem, where the world I know and the world I fear threaten to meet, fails, again, to remove the disfigured neon bird ever hanging in front of my chest. I re-enter the exhibit, pulled by the low atonal music of reality projected from my head that dims laughter to a din, the smiling child to a tear locked in an icebox, a country that has no exit but through the shackled door in which we came, where a white spider has spun over our heads a web, glittering in the desert sun, like feathers of a shot bird called home. Morning chant, scatter. Some of these I've never read before, so it's fun. Guru Vaktra Stitam Brahma Prapyate Tat Prasadata. Her tongue tells all I need to know, unties all I want, and what I want is not thought, not intuition, not negation. Any cord can be a noose. Any cord can be the thread I wear around my shoulder that signifies inheritance, my privilege, my Brahmanhood, an oppressor's pageantry. In the ceremony, Panditji asks me to flip the sacred from shoulder to shoulder 9 times signifying something lost in hours of solitary puja. I wear this sash at the Maumee River to scatter dust with flowers and rice. Strangers gaze at brown banks. He chants. I close ears, smell memory's breath, turmeric in milk. Sita knows how to heal even if exiled, to be imagined. I hear her in my head. 4 requests. Embrace, let go, stop, act. The first contradicts uncle's, be a man, don't cry, even though my eyes cannot. Let go, his tongue, tissue wriggled out from cylinder. A caught fish stopped mid-flop, I cannot shake the mangled tongue. Image arrests like jasmine in hair, try and wash it away, try and wash and fail. At last watch the remains of tree and man float gray in brown water, flanked by white flowers, sweet petals sinking, like all these grains drying the river. Some ash brushes onto the berm already. I wonder how anyone arrives to ocean without a thread. This what I want is not a what here at language's limits. It flickers, a tongue living. Guru Dhyanam Sada Kuryat Kulastri Swapatiriyata. Bridge. Sister, a shotgun fired and reloaded, propelled forward, past the border, past the farmed miles and hunting store, a stream, her morning, red flap of wild turkeys from ground to Douglas fir, force expended to let, to rest, winter winds whipped miles from origin. My ears, conditional bridges, the infrastructure of silence, the presence of breath's heft, heavy is death, inscribed now in her lungs. She will not sleep for months. Each door closed or hinge squeaking open into night, a bell of her father leaving, footsteps down the vacant hall, moon's shadow slipping through branches and windows, the geometry of birds too heavy to fly. She cannot escape fired grief propelled forward, cast shapes on walls, the spell of her roommate's lungs, death postponed by the chest's rise and fall. Her eyes invert the collapse, close above her throat's grain, sand the rhetorical why. All I can do is listen, sit in wash of expression of all I cannot bring myself to say, chin conscribed to nod, stare at the road, steer. Another one in the dad's voice. On the 4th night of July, my wife is in labor. At Toledo Hospital, I scrub in for no surgery. She arrives to term after 3 miscarriages. We've been waiting for him since morning. Wimbledon breakfast on the corner TV. I know the baby is mine. Still I question her. The broomsticks whistle and snap. If the child will not arrive, I fear she'll leave me. I've seen her black hair tear-soaked too many times since our wedding day, 7 years ago. I obey my inheritance. Nothing will be given. You must take whatever you want from this world. Dog sit. The dog's tugged leash knows home does not hold who it seeks, who prairie dogs pop out of holes to call, their squeal to which the dog pays no heed, like me, occupied in search of caregivers, gone as the atmosphere and its illusion of protection without disinterest. A leash held by the right hand is all we're after, dog planting 4 paws in cement. My hand is not right. Out there it'll find what I do not understand, not knowing food and drink quench nothing of the bright blue sail in a chest, its beat, veins taut, the dog's refusal to walk. My palm must unfold, acknowledge the right hand, gone as a prairie dog into its hole, moon engulfed in noon sun. Reason slips each step, paw on ice, bent grass blade, treat licked, spit, left to decompose. Execution. What sounds draw a body toward a snapped neck? 10 days after I returned, meditated on the floor over which you hung, swore I heard voices. When your blood still flowed, had I placed the bell of your stethoscope on your skull? Had I listened to the gaps between your clamorous pulls? Affection to aneurysm, the man who stood 3 times a day before God, who headbutted his wife and later his son, who saved lives for a living and divided them at home. Would your city have survived its guillotine? You constructed a death out of cables that invited the outside world unwanted inside your walls. Father, I should have become a surgeon. What I would give to slice precise through the scalp, to excise the creatures that strangle a family. I imagine you living alone for months, a hoarder, chambered in scraped pots. The friction of late Coltrane's cosmos squawks until the drugs and brain demanded he rests. The noose gifted your spine permission to unroll. I wish to have been present at your willful execution. Thanks for hanging in there. A lot of death, same thing. All right. This is another one in the Father's voice. If I told you the truth, if I told you my mind bloomed with noise, would you agree to go under my knife? For 31 years I have operated with a stable hand in my secure occupation without malpractice. For 31 years I have lived hosting the larynx of a virus in my mind. My wife must have known. I could tell she knew, but her patience drove and kept me alive. At home, she preoccupied the children. They envied her patient mind, I feared, unmooring. For 31 years, had I or she divulged my secret, how many cancers would have killed? Now unmoored, you wonder why I lie. Scaffold. I pause domestic as my urned father above fire and rest under the city's cranes, wood and steel reservoirs, reflections that hide what shades our years. Do not make beautiful the noose or its pedestal, each suicide an execution into which guilt shivers. Unstable as origin, our bodies express the executioner, blend into something I cannot claim, and so hate. This asymptote, where guilt and culpability refuse abutment. These walls cranes build but never enter, permitting our city a stable identity as though we share no kinship with what holds us, the scaffold's constant sway. Alright, this one is fun, because 3 years ago, this is the first draft of this one, When I Reach for Your Pulse, the title poem. The first thing I ever turned into grad workshop was the initial draft of this, way back when, and now it's totally different. But I'm going to do a thing. There are these like big gaps in the poem, so I'm just going to, those are there. There you go. Shout out to everybody standing. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know if there are there any chairs
So
out
popular.
there? Maybe there's one. When I reach for your pulse. I am trying to get to the body and matter that is the Oh, that was reading the initial line. I'm gonna try that one more time. That was the first draft. Way back.
Oh.
I'm trying to get to the body and matter that is fluid. The melted candle wax, the new moon, and Om, the Puget Sound. The terrain, personalities, and air that possess matter. The wind is a muted vowel in the brush of pine branches and sidewalk leaves whose aspirated breaths roll up and into the human ear. My mind thinks it hears its name. It hears traffic squeaking on tar. In milliseconds between inhaled sound and exhaled thought, sound waves shake the ear's drums, cells made of Rutherfordian atoms, 99%. Tiny bones filled with marrow, 99%. Matter passes vibration through the snail to neurons messaging a chant, name, 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 reaches the Rutherfordian brain, echoes background traffic, transmutes sound to the music of a gulp. Rising, meaning to make itself heard. Somewhere on the spectrum, a color longs to elongate its wavelength constraint without infringing on neighbors. White friends call tanning what I call repression. I look toward the mountains. A V opens. This ritual. My head's right to tilt from one blue to a fraught cerulean, where rules lean and middle wavelengths reflect water. Water, also 99%. Gifted body by the spasmodic waltz of electrons. Breathe in oxygen and hydrogen atoms displaced from another. Breathe out carbon, render it lifeless. Breathe in, Brahma. Breathe out, Shiva. Along the street walk, brick by brick, over ants. Smile, try not to think. Let the mind be water where no thought lingers. Not even a cicada's hum, a father's breath. Beings occupy the river, open to white clouds that perish after the sun sets behind stones. I run toward the longest wavelengths, meditate on waves, strengthen lungs to expand thoracic. To protect a kingfisher behind ribs, a hidden nest displaced into the banyan root's crook, where I rest when I sit, closing my eyes, where I do that thing I do to air with my nose. In the subconscious tense, I speak to myself in imperatives. Hold this black cube of matter in your palm. Feel lacquered metal wrap your knuckles. The half moon lights you. The 8-year-old child in you runs to spin the block pivoted in cement. Slow steps, churning legs, spinning. The body's electrons shift perpetuate illusion. Solid does not crumble for unexpected reasons. All matter fluxes. Danger without escape. Watch the cube spin on momentum. Slow by way of skin of hands, of wrists, of arms, of joints, of body. All magic starts in this. Between electrons and fingertips that are wands, attempting a final trick, the converse of disappearance. One more in the Father's voice. The first day of September, and we wait in the hospital again. It is her birthday, soon to be shared with a daughter. Our son, 5, accompanies me on my rounds, his crooked smile greeting nurses. Not long ago, he fit unconscious in my lap, and we'd fall asleep on the sofa, watching the tigers each summer night, my hand caressing the flat back of his head. Now, a sister he thinks we will buy from the store. The voice is quiet. In the moments I look at the children, I forget my wife and how easily it all could slip beyond my grasp. a new one. Not in Tesla. It's called Wedding Surprise. Paired up ducks give their partners space. It's February. Frozen patches of creek offer a platform for preening. The green sheen of one sitting glistens. His partner stands above on sun rock, scraping orange feet in her maw. They're two in a flock, some fishing, some caught in current like a child in a water park, and there I go, human seeking analog in a world withdrawn from my walk. Bipedal tedium, body in wraps that moseys romantic through winter under ravens, as if there's nowhere better to fly. Nothing better spent with time. No squirrel, no dog, no other human I see from here to the horizon. No flora, no bear, no surprise flourish. Just the ducks. Paired up, the partner leaping clean feet into the creek, withdrawn from the world of her mate, nestled bowl-shaped tub on ice. I turn away, continue walking the trail toward marriage, you off somewhere with a friend, a book, a boiling pot of tea. Perhaps this, the only work joy asks of us, to let be what we love and keep sharp the body's blades. Two more. New definition of blues after Mississippi John Hurt. Father, does a stone-gifted movement give a damn about anything meaning anything? Would a sparrow, tired of singing the same song day after day, bark if given the choice? Like you, these are not questions for no reason. The breeze tastes rose milk, the evening sounds, cars, leaves, friction, occasional passers-by, smooth into and out of the same drone. I am all ears, a bag of tortellini filled with paneer. In the humid air warm as curdled milk, my shoulders loosen as a dog growls, as a sparrow stomps in a puddle before it flies to peck my shells. No matter how its wings unfurl and taunt, I can only scratch at the bark until it is gone. Thanks, everybody. This will be the last one. Major thanks to Alana and Natalie for organizing the showcase this year. We've got one more next week. Fawn will probably tell you all that. Thanks to Fawn for helping out tonight. Shout out to Abby. Yeah, Abby and Gal back there. Thank y'all. Thank everybody here. Okay. Nathy. When I found my father's body hanging, I felt everything at once. Not sadness, not relief, not anger, not joy, not this. That was no out-of-body experience, no moksha, no bird on its last breath, no morning mist rising off a highway meadow or sound. When I found my father dead, it was everything. No sun on my soaked back in the midst of a mountain storm, no Tampura's drone oozing over the sitar's lick. This was no samadhi, no waterboarding, no despair. My dead father was everything. Unknown trees, their roots, their disease. The house's foundation, pillar, and demolition. No, not the sheriff's blue and red. Not the nurse's palm. Not the chill stethoscope silent on a bare chest. When I found my father, my mouth held nothing but my name for his chin. And no, this was not enough. It was everything. Thank you.
And speaking of Rushi's teaching, he has also been lead TA this year, so there are a few of us who want to say something. Okay, I want to be shy. I guess maybe Rachel will say something.
What the?
Steven,
Oh my God. What?
Hello.
Oh my God.
So, sir, all of us wanted to come up here. I don't think we all have like speeches or anything to sing, but you last semester gave your time and your effort and your care, and you do it to anyone, whether they were your pedagogy student or not. You give more than you get always from everybody. And I don't think that any of us can express enough of our gratitude for helping us as we adjusted to this program that we came in, and you were always willing to drop everything to help us learn. And I think all of us hope to be half the poet, individual, and just person that you have been for us as we've gone through this program. So these things are for you.
We're supposed to go.
I don't know how anyone else has a
Yeah, Rushi!
Okay.
Oh, this is real, okay.
Alright, so Rushi's alright. He's fine. He's got his pros and cons. So but he does have more pros than cons. So I decided to write a poem for Rushi. It's not good. I'm not a poet. But maybe after tonight. Let's see. So this poem is called Gucci. It's for Rushi. This villanelle is dedicated to my dude Rushi, who made my first year at CU pretty alright. Rushi, how did you get so Gucci? He has better rhymes than Biggie and Juicy, and as lead TA has been such a delight. This villanelle is dedicated to my dude Rushi. I'll never forget those days in pedagogy when he yelled at us first years to get our Colorado licenses. Rushi, how did you get so Gucci? My goal in life is to watch Michigan football with him and eat sushi. Even if that means I gotta travel to Michigan in winter and get frostbite. This villanelle is dedicated to my dude Rushi. These are mostly slant rhymes since nothing rhymes with Gucci. Just like in life, he is one of a kind and has a future so bright. Rushi, how did you get so Gucci? Do not go gentle into that good rage against the dime of light. This villanelle is dedicated to my dude Rushi, how did you get so Gucci?
I think if the rest of us tried to say something, we'd just start crying. We all have too much deep street cred for that.
Thank you, that was a beautiful villanelle. I think you said it all. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for coming. Oh yes, and next week we have Jessica Lawson. It's our final showcase. So next week at 7, right here.
I don't know if I'm going to sacrifice the speeding up. Would have voted for Sonnet. Sistina next.
One more shout out tomorrow at 7:30 at the Image Music Building in Gruesome Music Hall. Tessa Romano is putting on a recital. So if you want to get blown away by music, by her amazing voice, she's actually, this is a fact, the best singer in the world. It's like it was voted by a magazine called Gucci magazine. Oh my God.
Let's get together soon.
You're good, I guess. You're an alright poet in person.